All right, we're live.
Mr. Jake Baird,
Mr. Andrew Jones.
this is the first episode.
It is.
Well,
So do you meditate?
I do meditate. Yeah, I try to meditate every day. I'll really probably get a couple minutes, but it's usually whenever I take out the dogs out in the morning. I'll go ahead and try to sit on we have like a front room, and I'll sit on the carpet and just sit there and try to do that every day. I don't really get it, but sometimes. How about you?
Do you use music or anything, or how do you
No,
do it?
nothing. I'll just go ahead and sit there Indian style and just fucking go to town.
Just go to town?
Like, you get go to town. I mean, I'll go ahead and like sit there and just it's all just breathing for me at least.
So I
It's
started
like,
trying. Sorry, what?
No, go ahead.
I started trying to meditate in like 2015 maybe, and I started getting really angry, and so I stopped. And then I was on
That makes
vitamin D,
sense.
and I overdosed on it, right? And it started giving me panic attacks. It was my body trying to warn me that I had overdosed on vitamin C and I needed to stop. So I'd figured that
Holy
out and I
shit.
stopped taking it. But I started trying to meditate to kind of come back from where I was with regards to anxiety, because I'd never had anxiety before. And in doing that, I I started having panic attacks, and I started trying to meditate more and more and more, and it really
Did the
started
class.
what's that?
So it just like fucked it up. Like meditation was trying to help you, but it didn't.
Yeah, and I saw, I think, a Vice article, and the article talked about how people who started trying to meditate started getting panic attacks, and they started getting weird, crazy, random thoughts. Like a guy was sitting in traffic, and he started getting a panic attack, and then had this crazy thought that he had some repressed memory from early in childhood that he needed to figure out. And I was like, holy shit! So I stopped meditating again until
Holy shit.
yeah, and went on for like a year. And this was probably 19 is the last time I had meditated. And then someone I work with is like into spirituality and meditating, and actually does Reiki. This is like a whole nother thing. But I was talking to her about it, and I wanted to take Danny to see her to do a Reiki session. And I ended up going to do a Reiki session with her. And what Reiki kind of did was like clear all the pent up energy inside of me that I'd just been storing up, because I don't talk
Wow.
about anything throughout my
Of
entire
course.
life.
Yeah. Same.
And so like allowing that energy to clear through allowed me to start meditating again without having that inducing that panic and anxiety.
Wow.
So
That's interesting.
I started with guided meditations for clearing chakras and connecting with my intuition and things like that. And then I started doing non-guided meditations after a couple months. The crazy thing is, I started doing meditations right before lockdowns happened last year now. So it was like February. I started doing Reiki and meditating, and then like within a month, lockdowns happened, and just the whole world changed with regards to COVID escalating. And so I just spent 2 months just meditating. There was really not a whole lot to do. I would go to work. I was just on call, so some days I wouldn't even work for weeks at a time. And then I for 2 months I did that, and then as soon as lockdowns lifted, I went back and did another Reiki session with her, and
So what is Reiki? I'm just a novice. Like, what is that?
so it kind of, the way she does it, right? It's intuitive Reiki, so she kind of connects to the energy of your body, mind, and spirit, and she can kind of sense what's going on with you and kind of offer guidance or suggestion based on what she's sensing. But also there's a physical element to it. She kind of puts her hands on each chakra and other points of the body. So like
Yeah.
the crown chakra, the third eye, the throat chakra, the heart chakra, and then the solar plexus, sacral, root, and then the hands and feet. I don't know what those ones are called, but the main seven are those seven, and so it's kind of clearing the energy and allowing it to pass through more efficiently.
So
essentially,
once you did that, you were able to go ahead and do your meditations afterwards. Like it was like, I mean, it was pretty much like that was kind of the exercise you had to do in order to get to the meditation, in order to get to a actual endpoint.
yes, that's what worked for me.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So lockdowns lifted. I went and did another Reiki session, and then she gave me some guided meditations to do, just ones on YouTube. And the one she had me do was a sacral chakra meditation, and in it, you kind of there's just like a narrator telling you, describing things, and you visualize it in your mind. Well, at the end of it, the narrator was describing a light coming down and entering the top of your head. And in my meditation, in my mind's eye, I'm sitting watching myself, right? And I see this beam of light come down and enter the top of my head and travel down my body and hit the sacral chakra. And I physically felt that in my body, and it like jolted me. I got this rush of energy. It was intense. It was the most intense thing that I ever felt. And I was just super wired the rest of the day. Like I couldn't sit still. I just felt amazing. And then
Fascinating.
I told her about it, and she's like, "Okay, you had a jolt of energy, but you need to chill for a little bit. Tomorrow, do like a 40-minute non-guided meditation and just relax a little bit." So this is where shit gets weird.
Yeah.
So I did. I downloaded this app called Insight Timer, and there's like these bells you can set to go off throughout the meditation. I set a timer for 40 minutes, and there's just like this different music you can choose, and you can add bells to it. Well, I had interval bells every 10 minutes. I didn't really know what they were at the time. And then I had an ending bell, which was the same as the interval bells. So I thought the music was just going to stop after 40 minutes, but it just keeps going. The way you're supposed to know to stop is the bell goes off. But it sounded the same as all the other bells, so I just kept going. I ended up meditating for an hour and a half.
Holy shit.
But here's where it gets crazy, right? Halfway through, I hear this voice, and it says, "Jake, you have to go deeper." And then I see myself just propel up into space.
Yeah.
And I'm traveling through space. And I go, and all of a sudden, I'm in front of this alien.
Yeah.
And he's purple or blue. I can't figure out what color he is, right? And we ended up having a really long conversation. And he explained to me where we were was another dimension, and how I was witnessing it was a three-dimensional interpretation of that dimension we were in. So I wasn't actually seeing the dimension because my mind wasn't capable of it.
Of course.
But he was up on kind of a platform. We were in space or something outside of a planet. And he took a step forward, and he said, "Right now I'm in a different time and a different place than I was just now before I took this step." And then he took a step back to where he started, and he said, "Now I'm in the same place, but also the same time as I was before I took that step."
Wow.
So it's a three-dimensional interpretation of time. Space-time had merged into one there.
Holy shit. So he actually went into the fourth dimension. Wouldn't that be
I don't know what dimension it was. The dimensions I'm kind of exploring the whole dimensions thing right now, but it's kind of intense.
Well, there's supposed to be 10 dimensions, but, I mean, really anybody that can understand quantum mechanics is lying to you. Because I felt like it's so fascinating that you bring that up, because I felt like I understood it for a while, and then now I don't. I sincerely don't understand dimensions at all. Because it used to be like, okay, the first dimension is a point, right? And then 2 dimensions is a point plus a plane. 3 dimensions is point plus a plane plus another plane, right? In 3 dimensions, right? That makes sense. And then 4th dimension is time. So here's point, plane, and then whatever the fuck time is, right? It's another plane. I don't know what it is. And then there's 6 more, and I don't know. There's an old YouTube video that I used to watch to try to remind myself, but every time I'd watch it, I'd get more and more confused. It was like, okay, I figured this shit out. He's like, no, you didn't. You have no fucking idea. So you talking to that individual, right? Whatever it might be, right? Blue, purple. I mean, it's. I guess to put it this way, right? You know, it's kind of like you go to medieval England, and you go 8th grade math is trigonometry. Let me go ahead and show this to you. And they're like, what the fuck are you talking about, man? So our concept of quantum mechanics might be 8th grade math in 100 years or 500 years or whatever it might be. But to say that kind of thought experiment with the alien, I mean, one, that's really interesting that you came there because of meditation. Have you ever thought about that? I mean, like, what actually happened in that scenario? Do you think your brain was just playing tricks on you? Or do you think you actually, you know, talked to a higher being? Or what do you think?
I'm pretty sure I talked to a higher being. I had a roommate at the time. He was really into a lot of the alien stuff and the spirituality and meditating. There's kind of a, they all connect, right? There's an intersection between these things. But he had actually, I described the alien to him, and he had pulled up a picture on Google and said, is this what it looked like? And I was like, oh my God, it was exactly, it wasn't the same person, but it was the same type of being. I don't want to say species, it makes it sound like an animal, but it was that same type of being.
Wow. That's fascinating.
So,
was it like a 4'11", like the gray man type thing that you see in X-Files, or no?
No, it was very human features other than the fact that it was blue. It was a he. I'm pretty sure it was a he. Blue, black hair. He wasn't speaking, right? It was through, I can't think of what that term is called, but telekinesis or whatever.
Not telekinesis, because that's to move objects, but telepathy.
Telepathy, yeah.
So he was like speaking to you through your mind?
Yeah, and then all I'm saying now with regards to this, because I've gone down this rabbit hole since then, and it seems like these aliens that they're here, right? They are extra-dimensional. They're more on a spiritual plane. So that's why when you meditate, you're connecting more on this spiritual realm, and that's how I was able to travel there on that spiritual realm, and I guess have that conversation. Why they sucked me in and had that conversation, I don't know. But I mean, there's a lot of other people who are having experiences like this. And I wasn't on any substances, which is what normally would happen. And you hear about like the mechanical elves and things like that. People meet when they're on LSD.
Yeah. No. Well, I would say, I mean, and this is just in my experience, is as far as, you know, understanding or having some sort of, you know, extra body experiences. I mean, go out in the middle of the desert and go ahead and, you know, dehydrate yourself, right? And then go to sleep. I feel like some sort of like, I don't know, dehydration or, you know, what was it called when we were growing up? Spirit quest of like, don't eat, don't drink. I feel like you could go ahead and just deprive your body of those kind of needs, and they'll go ahead and your body will say like, screw you, I'll go ahead and find God, right? But that's fascinating that you actually had that kind of experience at that time. Sorry, here are new dogs barking outside. But I mean, in that experience, I think dreams or I don't know. I mean, I don't really have an answer, right? There's people that I've met that it's like, hey, I need to have mushrooms in order to experience something like that, or I need to smoke a fuck ton of weed or edibles or whatever it is, right? But in my experience, mine was dehydration from water, and it sounds like yours was just meditation, which is, you know, good for you.
What happened with you when you got dehydrated from not having water?
Oh, so anyways, it was pretty much playing football in high school in the middle of fucking desert. Good God, I don't know why they thought that was okay, but 120 degrees, not having enough water, not having enough electrolytes, going to sleep that night, and oh shit, a whole bunch of different dreams, right? Life after death, both times, right? Heaven and hell, and then you have just other dreams of like talking to people that are dead, right? So I think it's kind of like if you put your mind under pressure that way. I've never done psychedelics, but I feel like that would be the same effect, right?
I haven't done psychedelics either, but I would imagine, yeah, it's similar to that. I don't know if you just meditate and get to a point where you're unlocking something in the brain by
Mm-hmm.
meditating. You're just kind of moving some ancient part of the brain that we just aren't used to using anymore, and
That
it
could
has
be
a
it.
similar effect chemically that
Mm-hmm.
psychedelics have, and that's
Mm-hmm.
kind of my theory, but it's something beyond just a chemical reaction in the brain, right? The nature of these conversations that I've had and the things I've seen, it would lead me to believe that I'm certain that there is this spiritual realm that I connected to.
It's funny that you say that. I remember being at Planet Ranch. It was me, you, my dad, and of course your dad. And of course, my dad, snored like a freight train. So it's like, oh my god! I woke up in the middle of the night in this RV, whatever it was, travel trailer. And I remember waking up and then like seeing like this white stag or bear or something like that outside. It was completely white, fluorescent, almost like a fluorescent light, right? And I was just like, what in the hell? And it reminded me, if I were to compare it with something, it would be the game Prey. I don't know if you ever played that game years ago. But anyways, it was very bright and fluorescent, and I like remember looking up at it and then being like, "What the hell?" And it was outside, right? And I was kind of afraid, obviously, and then I went back to sleep. But at the time, I was like, or at least now that I think about it, I'm like, talk about a spiritual realm. It kind of feels like that almost.
I mean, that's one of
Which
the
is very
theories too.
bizarre.
When we're dreaming, they say that we're connecting to that, and we're
Mm-hmm.
connecting to that realm, and kind of subconsciously interpreting things that, and you may have actually, there may have been something there spiritually, and you just normally your
Mm-hmm.
physical body wouldn't be able to pick it up, but you were able to interpret that based on the state of mind you were in while sleeping. You were
Yeah.
closer connected to that, and you were a lot younger. You're what, 10?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And it's a lot easier
Maybe
for
nine
children
or
to
ten.
connect to that before getting inundated with the facts of the world, the way the world works by adults.
That actually makes a lot of sense because at that point in your life, you're like, you don't really know what is. You don't really know what is needed or what is real. And you just kind of connect, like the spiritual part into the physical realm and you put them together and you might confuse them, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there was what's fascinating to me is like a lot of the life after death, or like speaking to kind of like dead people, right? When you speak to them, it's very interesting dream where it's like you go into the dream, you feel different, you understand something's there, and then you either talk to them or not. And it's never a scary dream ever, right? It's just like, hey, I'm just a beacon of, or even a hub of what you think I am. So when you talk about that spiritual world versus the physical world, maybe you're a hub during your dream. I mean, again, at the end of the day, our brains are like trillions of synapses, right? So to use all of them, in a very subconscious way, it could get kind of silly. I don't know. I don't really know the answer to that. Um, as far as like meditating more, have you had any more experiences of that, or no?
So not really. Like I've seen that specific being in
Mm-hmm.
meditations, but we haven't had another conversation. I've seen other entities I've come to call them like spirit guides or guides who have given me advice, and I've had, I guess, conversations with people who are no longer with us. That's happened a couple times. But for the most part, it was really intense for maybe a month or two, and then I kind of started connecting back into the physical realm. Like I was always meditating, and I was just always just out there in that spiritual realm, just not really dealing with shit here on Earth that I needed to. So after a month or two, I kind of came back here. And about that time was when that thing happened with Nora. She passed away. Danny and I broke up, so there was a lot that just started happening here that I just had to deal with, and I never really reconnected to it all on that level. But they had told me that I have shit to do on Earth that I need to deal with before I can move forward in that realm.
That's fascinating, because I've had the opposite experience where I was like, I need to go figure out shit in the physical realm than in the spiritual realm, and this would happen multiple times a night. But instead of like meditation, it would be when I would go to sleep, and it would just be like, okay, guys, it was the opposite. It was me saying I need to go figure out my shit in the physical realm rather than like somebody telling me. And it was never. What was fascinating to me is like I never talked to like you talk about specific people, right? Like my dad, I never really talked to him, but it would be like other randoms, right? Not really like the purple blue person that you're talking about, but just like randoms, which was really interesting to me because I always thought like, oh, who would it be? Like somebody close to you? Not really. It could be randoms. It could be somebody that you're close to, or either or, depending on the dream. So that's fascinating. And that was like, what for you? That was 3 months ago, right? 3 or 4 months ago? 2 months ago?
So I started seeing shit in May, like having these conversations. It was right after the first round of lockdowns had lifted, so that was May. And then since then, like I've seen, there was a Native American gentleman that I've spoken to. Believe it or not, dude, I've seen Sammy Hagar, which is weird.
That's awesome. He's probably on the astral plane, chilling.
Yeah. So yeah, and then since I had that conversation, right, all this stuff in the news that's been going on about aliens and disclosure has been really intense because it seemed to have just escalated since I had that experience.
Oh man, I was literally... So I haven't listened to your Tim Pool and, what was it, Tim Pool, Alex Jones, and
Michael Malice.
I have not listened to that podcast yet, but I listened to Terry Virts, who is that astronaut that was at the space station for 214 days, something like that. I was listening to his podcast. I think they had it like earlier in December, the Joe Rogan podcast. And... gosh, what was he talking about? It was pretty much just like, hey, Joe was asking Terry, have you seen any like extraterrestrial stuff? And he's like, not really. And he's like, he pretty much said he's so bummed about that. And it's just so fascinating because all the extraterrestrial videos coming out this year, right? And of course, it's eclipsed because of the pandemic, but seeing a literal UFO come out of the water and then instantly go up like 10,000 feet within a couple seconds, and then stop. What other definitive evidence do you need? I mean, quite honestly, I feel like we're just trickling in evidence to the general populace until everybody starts to accept, oh, by the way, there are extra solar terrestrials or extra dimensional terrestrials. I don't know. What do you think about all this? All these new like videos coming out?
Well, I think it's building up towards disclosure, right? I think the government is definitely going to announce that aliens are real. The question is, who's going to be in power when that happens, and in what context is it going to be revealed? I saw this really compelling documentary about when they do disclose, it's going to be about the aliens. The government's going to stage a fake alien invasion to bring about a one world government. And it's really fascinating. I don't know if that's true or not. I know that they're not here to hurt us. They're definitely here to help us transcend.
Yeah.
but I don't think they're capable of really interacting with us in this three-dimensional space. So I think we're supposed to kind of raise our level of consciousness to their level so we can communicate and kind of lift humanity up. And it seems like a lot of the stuff going on in the world has to do with that. The old power structure is really losing control. You think about what would the world look like if the people who've been running the world for the last couple thousand years were losing their grip on it. It would look a lot like it does right now, just chaos and pandemonium, and that's what I think a lot of it has to do with. But looking into the videos and stuff, it seems like there's a couple different groups that have different agendas with regard to this. And so it's going to be interesting to see where it goes from here. I'm not really sure. But it seems like the people in the government pushing for disclosure do not really have the true or good agenda with regards to that. And it seems like they're helping more to paint them as hostile.
Yeah. Well, it's funny that you say that. A third option, right? And this is coming from Games Workshop, the Warhammer 40,000 universe. I don't know if you know too much about it. But there is effectively Alien. The movie Alien was based off of this universe. At least that's what I've read. There's this race in this universe called the Tyranids. And the Tyranids are literally like aliens, right? From Alien versus Predator. They just eat worlds up. They eat all the organic matter, and then they fucking get off the planet, and they're done. It's like Alien, but like a lot smarter, right? So whenever these types of aliens come onto a planet, the Tyranids, right? Before they get to the planet and consume the planet of all organic matter, what they'll do is they'll have gene stealers, is what they call them. And these gene stealers will go ahead and rise to power as humans, as politicians, right? And they'll intentionally, kind of like when Louis C.K. asked Donald Rumsfeld if he was a lizard person, kind of like that, right?
Wait, that happened?
Yeah, you didn't see that? Oh,
no.
God! Yeah, he asked him if he was a lizard person. So it's kind of like that, but really what they would do is they would just go onto a planet and then cause dissent. So whenever the Tyranids came and invaded, it was like all these disjointed countries that didn't want to work together and would fight each other, and, well, because of that, the aliens would come in and consume everything.
Interesting. It sounds a lot like the movie Slither. Have you ever seen that, too?
No.
Oh,
Slither.
It's not the creating dissent stuff, but the take over the world kind of and just consume it. Also, there's a Twilight Zone episode, like the Monsters of Maple Street or something, where the aliens come and just freak out this neighborhood and get them to all turn on each other, and the aliens don't even do anything. They just sit there and watch and let the whole world. They're just going to do it street by street or community by community and let the world just devour itself.
Well, it's funny you say that, right? It sounds like this is a recurring theme across different pieces of media. And I always think to myself, like, what is original in this situation? And I used to have this recurring dream where I would, like, look up into the night sky and I would see literally alien spaceships, and it was almost like deja vu. And I just think to myself, like, how did we get to that point? Did it just like show up out of nowhere one day and then try to transcend us? Or was it something that, I don't know, like some plot line that we've never even thought of?
There's so much information out there since I've been getting into this spirituality and the extra-dimensional beings and how they all connect. And then there's lizard people and the cabal or the deep state or the people who run the world and how it all connects to each other. As near as I can tell, a lot of it has to do with humans are spiritual beings. Our soul, we're basically, our souls are just here in this body to experience this life, remember who we are, and then we come back and kind of reincarnate over and over and over again.
That's interesting. I was
Yeah.
I was going to say, as far as reincarnating over and over again, would you reincarnate as in this physical realm or into a different dimension? So, like Jake, but in a different reality.
So it can be both, right? Like I've had I just remembered this actually. I've had a couple different very vivid meditations where I've seen myself from past lives here on Earth. One was actually the first time it happened. This was like a week or two after I'd had the conversation with the extra dimensional being. I was on a like an old time war ship, like a 17 to 1800s looking ship,
Okay.
and it just exploded. I was sitting on the stairs going up to the 3/4 deck on the top deck, and it just exploded, and it was in the port, and I blew into the ocean, and I was able to trace it back to the exact ship, and it was the USS Gallatin, which was the I don't remember. I journal all this shit down. I can't remember off the top of my head, but there was something identifying on the ship that I saw, and I was able to trace it back. I saw something having to do with the U.S. Treasury, and back in the day when the United States, early in the days of the U.S., the Coast Guard was not called the Coast Guard; it was something else, and it was run by the U.S. Treasury, and the ship worked for the U.S. Treasury. And
Wow.
it exploded in the harbor in I don't remember what city, but I was able to trace it based on what I saw in that to it being the USS Gallatin.
Well, I think that
But
would.
also we're also when we're not present here on Earth, we are these spiritual beings, and we could be in another dimension. We could be apparently coming to Earth and living life on Earth is a gift that spirits line up to get the opportunity for. So, like, however we're present in that form,
Well,
we
you
can
could.
also be as well. And then there's also the extra dimensional beings, the aliens. There's different types of the aliens apparently.
My idea has always been like the quote unquote aliens is literally like kids on a field trip in like fifth grade, right? So think of in 1,000 or 2,000 years or however long, right, until we figure out like space travel or some sort of time travel, and it's just like, hey, let's go ahead and see what this person's doing, 5,000 or a couple thousand years ago, right? Let's take a field trip. Let's get into the machine or get into our VR goggles or whatever it might be, and let's just go see what they're doing, right? So it's like these beings could be just like chilling in the corner of the room watching us, like, oh, hey, we're on a field trip. Almost like you take a whole bunch of kids to the Grand Canyon one day, right? Something as simple as that. I think that's, if we condense it down, it sometimes it's like we seem that it's like these extra dimensional beings are literally studying us or something like that, and sometimes I think to almost make it playful in the sense of no, it's literally we've created time travel, and that time travel in this universe is very easy and economical to utilize, and it's like, oh, here's this fifth grade classroom going to see what the hell Jake's doing, or see what the hell Obama's doing, or whomever it might be, right? That's what I sometimes think it is. Which is...
Yeah, I can. Sorry,
Why?
what? Go for it.
No, and which is... I don't know. I sometimes think... I don't know. That's what I think sometimes. It's a little bit more innocuous than we think it is.
Yeah. It reminds me of that thing from Seinfeld where Jerry asked everyone at the diner table, if aliens came and abducted you, would you rather be in their circus or their zoo?
I don't know. I'd pick... I would pick zoo. Just
It
because...
seems like it'd be a more normal life, right?
Yeah, a little bit normal. I get to eat all the same food-ish. And then I sometimes think, like, if I were at a zoo and then aliens were taking care of me, what would they feed me? Because I feel like I eat a lot of different types of food, just like every other person on the planet, right? Whereas, I go and feed my dog kibble every day. I don't know. What would I eat? Human kibble?
Yeah. Well, remember the South Park where Earth is a reality TV show?
Oh, yes. That was episode 200. Mm-hmm. I remember that one. And then they go ahead.
It was a repeat.
And they blackmail those guys. We got a video of you guys doing whatever the hell you're doing to each other. Which was like, that was so perfect. They just had two aliens doing weird shit to each other, but because it was not actual humans, they didn't have to censor everything.
Yeah, they were just sucking their arms.
Yeah, it was like their shoulder or something like that. Oh yeah. Oh Jesus. No, that's fascinating. So now you're pretty much grounded for the last couple months then? Yeah?
Yeah, so like I've been meditating every day since February probably, and I've been connecting on a whole nother spiritual level since May. So I'm very entrenched in that whole realm as much as I can be.
That's interesting. No, I've just I haven't journaled any of that stuff in such a long time. I think the last time I did that was ASU, and that was 9 years ago, 8 years ago. No, I think it was high school, so like 12 years ago, something like that. The last time I journaled dreams. So perhaps I need to start doing that again.
Yeah,
because
find.
Good.
Go for it.
No, go ahead.
Find like a meditation on YouTube to start trying to do too.
Have you done? There's that new meditation app. I can't remember what the hell it is, but it's got like the big bubble and it goes in and out and in and out. I've thought about using that, but
I haven't seen that one. I use Insight Timer.
Insight Timer. Mm-hmm. Does it have like some sort of like ring or something at the end that like, hey, you're done?
Yeah, that's the one I use. You just have to set the specific bell you want. Otherwise, the music will just keep going until you stop it. You just have to set this bell, and you can have different choices of bells. You can have a very loud one to, hey, this is done.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. Mm-hmm. I would say, did you ever do, I think the next step for you is to do the deprivation tanks. Have you ever heard of that or done that?
I've thought about it. I have such bad tinnitus that I just don't know if I could. Like, it would be so loud.
Yeah, you just hear "re" the whole time.
Yeah, I have done. I've done, and when I get it, it's not just ringing. It's like dung 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 dung, like drilling. Wow. Like if it's super quiet, that's what it sounds like.
What's interesting about, so I only did it once, and I did it years ago, but even still, I remember it. But it's totally dark, so whenever you open your eyes or close your eyes, it's the same amount of darkness. And I remember, when you close your eyes and you can kind of see like almost like black clouds, or at least I can. And what happened with those kind of like black clouds in my eyes is they started like merging into each other. They were humans, and then they would merge into each other. And it was just like a line of like humans merging into each other.
That's intense.
Oh man, it was wild. And I only did it once, right? And I remember I was just sitting there, and totally sober, and it was just these like humans bumping into each other over and over and over again. And I just remember being like, "What in the hell is this?" And I was kind of freaked out about it. I was like, "What the fuck?" And this was probably 2013? 2013, yeah. Yeah, 2013. And it was just like, I was in there for like an hour and a half, kind of like your meditation. And I just, just kind of looking up and the, humans melding into each other over and over again, like walking into a line. And that was it. And I remember getting out of the tub and, going to see my buddy at the time, Nick, and I was like, hey, did you have anything? He's like, no, nothing happened. I was like, yeah, well, I just saw these people like running into each other like for an hour and a half. He's like, what? And I was like, yeah, I think I'll take a break from that for a while.
You should try and do that again, dude.
I probably should, yeah. I know Joe Rogan does it quite a bit. But
I've done, there's this thing in Tempe I've gone to. it's just they put like 1,000 pounds of Epsom salt into a bathtub, and you just float, right? Because it's just so dense. And so it's kind of like that, but it's not super quiet. You can have music, you can turn on or off, and you can turn lights on or off. But it is a very, very dark room, and you just float. And they do it for like 45 minutes. And that was pretty intense. I saw some things while I was doing that.
I was going to say, that sounds exactly like my experience. It might have been the same place, but I elected to turn off the music and the lights, and I was buck-ass naked, and I was just like laying back, and I just started seeing the people running into each other. What did you see?
So like I actually saw this orange snake that I was chasing through a field. And since I've been meditating and stuff, snakes have been a recurring theme for me. I haven't really figured out. I think that means I looked it up what snakes mean. I'll have to go back and look, but yeah, the snakes have been coming up for me a lot. And then my former roommate pointed out, he asked me about my snake tattoo, my join or die tattoo. And he's like, why did you get that? And I was like, I like the history behind it. And he's like, I think there's more to it than that. It had to do with the snake.
Oh.
Snakes are something to you.
Cool. And then you think about, do you think Benjamin Franklin ever had those types of ideas too? Or those types of, dreams as well? That'd be interesting.
I haven't seen anything to indicate that, but who the fuck knows,
Fuck, I don't know. I mean, my only, phobia, and it's not too much of a phobia anymore, it was cockroaches. And, I don't have those in my dreams at all. But for you, I know that, spiders is your phobia, though, so I guess that doesn't really make sense.
So the other thing that's kind of crazy, too, this is weird. After all this stuff started happening, I went to IHOP to pick up food one day, and I was just sitting there waiting for it, and I ordered it to go, so I went to pick it up, and I was sitting at the bench by the front desk, and I just saw this spider crawling up my shirt. I was just at IHOP, and there was a spider crawling up my shirt, and I was like, what the fuck? So I just kind of gently got up, brushed it off, and I sat back down, and I thought nothing of it.
Whoa. Holy
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. I was going to say, so it's like helping you in a way then.
Yeah, so that's one of the things that when people go through, from what I'm reading, things like I've gone through, old parts of them kind of fall away. It could be fears or physical things or relationships. Any part of their an old identity could fall away.
That's actually fascinating. Huh.
Yeah.
Holy shit. That's the only ones that you have, right? Really, I just remember spiders. As like an irrational fear, right? It's literally...
Yeah, spiders was it. And there was a traumatic story behind that. My parents' cabin in Crown King, sleeping down in my half basement room, and I just woke up one morning and there were just spiders, hundreds of them crawling over me. They were all over the walls, all over the floor, and
that's a good reason.
Yeah.
I don't remember mine. I think if I go way back, it was something similar, but it wasn't hundreds. It was like maybe one or two, maybe even one. And it just freaked me out. And of course, my mom was yelling, and it was like, oh my God. And so it just it additionally reinforced that. And now, when we worked at the sewer plant, right? We saw not a whole lot, but enough. And it's not as freaky to me as it used to be. Which, probably the same thing with spiders. Funny that you say spiders. I actually had a dream a couple of nights ago, maybe last night or the night before, but it was like I saw a spider that was like my torso. And I was looking at it, and I was just like, man, that's a big-ass spider. Because I'm not afraid of spiders. And then another one came along, like it was trying to trump itself, right? Like, Andrew, you're afraid. It's like, man, that's another big-ass fucking spider. And we just got a new puppy, and the puppy was making noises, so I was like, oh, I should probably get up and, take a piss. I don't know, it was almost like testing me in a way, which was like, no, I'm good. I'm not afraid of this guy. And then I woke up. Which probably, if I were a kid, it would have been different. It would have been a phobia today, but no, not at all.
I wasn't even able to remember my dreams until like a couple months ago.
Really?
Yeah.
I have the ability to remember them, but also when I wake up in a dream, when I go to take a piss, I can come back and go resume the same dream. Which apparently isn't like normal.
That's not normal, I don't think. That's
Yeah, I can super easily I can be like, okay, and then I can lucid dream after that. I can go ahead and be like, if there was like a monster or something like that in there, I can go ahead and be like, okay, I've got my M4, I'm ready to go. And I go hunt the monster down or whatever it is and kill it, and then I'd be done. Which, people say like, wow, that's really badass, but at the same time, I was like, no, it's not, because I go and kill the thing and then I wake up. It's stupid. Which is hilarious when I think about it, because it's like, everyone's like, wow, that's really cool that you can go and kill the monster in your dream. It's like, no, it's not, because it's really fucking boring. You go and corner it and you shoot it and then you're done.
Yeah.
You wake up.
Yeah.
It was very anticlimactic. I've had it many times. And it's like, okay, cool.
So you've had that same dream many times?
Yeah. Well, I've had kind of, not the same monster, but different monster. But I'd go take a piss, and then I'm like, okay, I'm going to go kick this guy's ass. And then, it's like, okay, I've got an M4 now, or, I've had many dreams where I have, like, the 20-round magazine, like, M16 from the Vietnam era, right? Yeah. And I'm like, fucking going through, like, the jungle trying to find it.
Dude, that's either your brain has just been conditioned from so many years of video games, or there's something deeper there. Because that's not normal,
The only reason I knew it wasn't normal was about a year ago. I was on the subreddit Dreams, and it was like one of the top posts. It was like some meme about like some person that can go back into his dream and then find the monster. I was like, yeah, man, I could do that all the fucking time.
But you should look into that more.
Well, I've also had the same type of dreams, and it's in the first phase. Like the second phase is like if I get up and piss, or if I take the dog out or whatever, right? It's like the first phase, I can't like hit hard enough, or I can't like pull the trigger to kill the monster or whatever. It's like you can't do any of that, and then when you like realize what's going on, then you go back into it, and it's like the logic part of my brain is like, we're gonna go ahead and take care of this for you, bud. You just go ahead and go to sleep, and we'll be fine. Which is interesting, because it's almost like you talk about the left and the right part of your brain. Which one is being inactive or activated at the time, and which one am I turning on in that scenario? So, that's funny. So you say that's not normal? You've never been able to do that?
I mean, not as far as I know. Like I said, I can't really remember my dreams, but I've not even heard anyone talk about being able to do that before.
Yeah, man.
I feel like I would have if that was a common thing.
Oh, absolutely. I can do it all the time. I can go back into a dream, and even if it's just like silly, like if I'm making a sandwich, which is very seldom, but I can go right back into my dream and start making a burrito or a sandwich or whatever the hell it is after I wake up.
Or a burrito.
Or a burrito, yeah. Thank you, Andy Jones. But no, sincerely, it's very odd. And I didn't know it was not normal until only a couple of years ago.
I've had dreams where, like when I was younger, I've had very, very vivid dreams that I go back, and it's kind of like the dream I'm having is a sequel to that dream I've had when I was younger. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of almost deja vu-y in my dream. I've had that, but I've never been able to instantly, and that's very rare for that to happen to me. It's happened, but it's very rare. But that, no, what you described, never.
That's fascinating to say. So I've had a lot of like different like experiences when I dream, but never when I meditate like you have had. Like your recent experiences with meditation, never. And when I do like the meditation, I try to do like yoga with it, and that might be, what's trumping me. But I've only had success when I go to sleep, never when I'm awake. It's all. I mean, I might have the people crash into each other, like I said in the deprivation tank, but that's about it. Mm-hmm. I never have the experiences you have.
So when I started, I did like I was meditating every day. I do yoga too, so that definitely helps connect with all that. But I was meditating every day for like an hour and a half to 2 hours a day, every day for like 3 months before I started seeing shit. And having those really intense experiences. And then the other thing I forgot about, after I went through this kind of awakening and I had that experience with the light coming down and entering my physical body while I was meditating, so I started having like just crazy endurance. I was able to run and lift and just escalate my abilities in both of those. I was able to, like, I would throw the ball for the dog and I was able to hit a target like probably 30 yards away exactly 10 out of 10 times.
Wow.
Just crazy things like that. That didn't last. It lasted probably a few weeks maybe, those kind of abilities, but it definitely woke something up inside of me.
Like almost like a primal. I mean, very primal, right? I mean, you think of 200 generations before you being able to have a dream like that and then taking like the highlight or the javelin or whatever and then tossing it at a buffalo or, Jesus Christ, a cow or, prototype of a cow or whatever it might be. I mean, just think of how like advantageous that would be. And that's interesting that you kind of awoke in that. And I've heard like people talking about like that type of like your genetics coming from well, when you think about a bird, right, flying north for the summer or south for the winter, almost like us having the same type of like guidance but in a dream of like, okay, you need to kill like this large land mammal, right? This is exactly how you're going to do it. So maybe that was it.
I was thinking about that. Like dogs have instincts, right? They're born and they just know how to eat and what to like. I'm maybe not domesticated in this day and age, but historically, wild animals they're born and they've got these instincts to do things, and especially if we're like, I think there's a level of consciousness we have that animals just don't, and that it kind of, to me, I would think would bring into question to override some of those instincts.
Well, I just don't think animals question the instincts ever. We do. We have that ability to question them.
And that's what I'm saying. Like when people started off, how did they know eating was okay?
Well, they just didn't question it, I think.
Yeah.
That could be it. Well, and then of course you had a bunch of dead cavemen after they ate a bunch of mushrooms or berries or,
trial and error.
Yeah, exactly, right? It's like, well, Jake died after he ate all these fucking mushrooms. Maybe we shouldn't eat these mushrooms. Like, okay, yeah, well, just remember that. But, it's like in your dream, right? I don't think that's as instinctual as, okay, I'm going to go ahead and kill this animal in order to feed the whole village, right? I think that's very instinctual. Whereas, like, with my puppy that we just got, right, she knows when to... It's kind of like the animals that squeak, right? It's like, hey, that's a dying animal noise. So she knows instinctually that's a dying animal noise, so I should go pick up that, squeaky toy, right? I think that was the same with your dream, honestly. And it's fascinating that you had that, because I've never had any instinctual type dreams, ever. Never... It's like, hey... And then, of course, when I wake up, I become better at, like, throwing something or whatever it is. I think that's... I don't know. I wouldn't say it's common, but... if you were to have that dream, like let's say 20,000 years ago, you had that dream, you woke up the next morning, you grab your javelin and then fucking killed like the boar, I mean, you'd be a badass amongst the village. Like, I want your genetics, Jake. And then, of course, after that, it was you'd reproduce, and then, 200 generations later, here you are having the same dream. And that comes with another thing, right? Do we inherit dreams? Which, I don't know. Maybe, maybe not.
So there's a lot of evidence to suggest that our DNA kind of absorbs experiences of our ancestors. So where my a fear or something that doesn't have any kind of genesis in your life could have come from an ancestor who had an experience dealing with it,
That could be. Well, in that case, it sounds like it was. I mean, it was.
So I'm sure it could be dreams, could be any kind of experience that an ancestor has gone through, for sure can translate to future generations.
I mean,
stored within our DNA.
I would say, like, if you were to look back at your ancestral, I mean, obviously, if you look back far enough, it's all in Africa, right? But I guess European. I mean, what are you? Like Viking, Norwegian, Swedish,
Scottish, Viking. Yeah.
So I would say, in your dream nexus, to kind of focus in on what type of animal it is. I think that would be the most interesting. Is it a reindeer? Is it the prototype to a cow? Like, what is it? Because then you go ahead and journal that and be like, that's, definitive to what my ancestors would have seen 10,000 years ago. I think that would be most interesting. Is to see if the animal lines up with the actual ancestry. That would be the coolest.
Yeah.
And I've never had that. I've seen bighorn sheep, but that's all native to Arizona and North America. Never with like hunting, which is pretty badass. I could just always go back into dreams. That's it.
I mean, that's still pretty trippy that you can do that.
And I can do it really easily, which is really bizarre. It's like almost every dream. Oh, check out your cat. What's that cat?
This is Revy.
Revy? Where's the other one?
Sleeping on the bed.
Where's your dog?
Sleeping on the bed. Hey, okay, get down.
Do you, our puppy, we have to try to keep up as long as possible. So
it'll sleep through the night?
Oh, God, yeah, exactly.
Sadie's a very lazy dog, so she's out. I run her around throughout the day. She's a big dog, so it's easy to expel her energy.
Wow, well, good for you. I was going to say, our dog's finally, Alyssa's dog that she got when she was in high school, Bella, the Shih Tzu, and then also Lola, the dog that we got a couple days ago, finally are starting to get along, and they started playing together as of like 8 hours ago. And
that's cool.
Oh, God, thank God, right? Because the amount of energy that they expend when they're playing with each other, it's so much easier.
Hey, so we have an hour of trial time with this thing, and we're at 58 minutes.
I was about to say, I'm ready to... I want to get some food.
Yeah. I think this was...
I think this was a pretty good first episode. Yeah, this was great, man.
Sure.
We'll have to try her again, and, if it needs ducats, just let me know.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm going to... I'll go back and rewatch this tomorrow, and then I'll send it to you, and we'll see how it works, and we'll put it up somewhere.
Jake, happy Friday to you, sir.
Is it Friday? I can't remember anymore. I'm quarantined.
It is definitely Friday.
Tight.
Well, this was fun, dude. All right, I'll talk to you tomorrow.
All right, later.
That's it.